30 years ago, we never would have imagined being here talking about this. We went from childhood games to energetic alignment. By doing the work, we created better versions of ourselves. Join us, two women sharing their intimate journal entries on their path to consciousness. Get in here, get in here, get in here. If you like our content and you want to hear more, subscribe, like, and comment below.
Consumption. My body is a temple, and I like to keep it that way. There's something about getting older that triggered a signal to my palate that certain things should not be put in my mouth. And then there was also a second signal to my brain that said, I should only be making wise decisions from here on out. I started having conversations with my body, and I was finally listening to her. She started saying things like, girl, if you eat that garbage again, I'm going to sit you down for a few days. My mind started making decisions based on clarity and not impulse. And then each day after that, I decided what I allowed and what I had to block from my body.
You are what you eat. You are the company you keep. What you consume consumes you. You are the thoughts you think. That's it. That's the secret sauce. You are the who, what, where, when, and why of your environment. I didn't see it in my own life until I went through a year of fasting. In 2022, I started giving up things, not intentionally, I just felt compelled. I now know that was spirit working through me and for me. I gave up alcohol and then social media. I stopped watching TV and started reading books. I even started intermittent fasting 20 hours a day and was very intentional about the music I listened to. During each fast, I released a part of the old me. I reflected, corrected, and grew into a new me. Less really is more, y'all. Get in here, get in here, get in here, y'all, and welcome to episode 2, all about consumption. And right off the bat, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, Keela.
Ooh.
So, you said that you had to really like pay attention and be intentional about the things that you were putting in your body. What started that for you? Do you know like what made you feel like this is what I need to do, or like what happened?
I really think my body started talking to me and I started listening. Like we all get those body, signals. And I just started listening to her. I really think that's what it was. It wasn't anything else but like little signals here and there. When your body says you ate something wrong and immediately it has to release it, like like those type of signals. When I drank overly, too heavy one night, your body was, the next day I was like, ugh, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And then I found that I just wanted to start nourishing my body. Like I wanted to start giving it the good things, because it was talking to me in a way that said, I would like you to live a long life. I would like to help you. It was a conversation like, I would like to help you. And if you give up these things, I promise you, you'll be better. So it was just getting in tune and listening.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I noticed that certain things that I used to do or used to eat or used to consume now, like all of a sudden started giving me gas or would give me headaches or like you said, make me lethargic and like where I just couldn't do anything. And I was looking like, you know what, like, and I believe now, I didn't understand it then, that it was essentially me and my body changing, becoming more high vibrational, right? Because I was paying attention and being very intentional with the things that I did, that certain things that were heavy or that were sticky or that were gonna like pull me down or anchor me into a lower vibration, no longer work for my body. And that's kind of like how I feel now. So when I eat something, my body, like, because we were like obedient and we listened, I know now right away what happens. Like if it wasn't for me, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that didn't work.
That sound that goes
where you like, ooh, we ain't 20 no more. That's also part of it too, right? You just like,
what was that?
and we can't, we also are at an age where we can't just do damage to our body, right? We grew up, we could have eaten McDonald's every day and been totally fine. I try to do something like that now. I can't even tell
Yeah.
you the last time I had McDonald's, so I don't have to go there. But the point is, even when I have things that are maybe not fast food, if they not right with me, they're not right with me. Like
Right.
because we hadn't drank in so long, and I had a celebratory glass of wine, a glass and a half. I felt that wine well into the next day. Like I could just feel myself, and people would be like, "Really, a glass of wine?" And I'm like, "Well, when you
No.
haven't had it and it hasn't been in your environment, so yeah, I could feel it all the next day." I was so sluggish, and I was like, "This is the wine."
Yeah. It absolutely is. So I had to you talked about eating fast food, but it just made me think about intermittent fasting
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people are into this. A lot of people our age are definitely trying to incorporate it into their diet. So, and I know you kind of do this intermittent fasting. I haven't tried it yet, but how do you like it?
I really loved it. I started it probably it was in the 2022 when I started doing the intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Again, I just felt compelled to kind of like give up some things, right? But it started out where I would basically have like an eating window for like the hours that I would eat. And in the beginning, it would be like I would not eat anything before noon. So I did that for a while. And so between the hours of like noon and 8, I could eat whatever I was going to eat, whether it be one meal, two meals, or whatever. That was my eating window. And the reason you do this is because after at least 12 hours, your metabolism can jumpstart. Like when you have given your body a break and it really allows yourself to metabolize and break down all the food you have, well, when it starts looking for energy after 16 hours, your body then starts looking for all the junk and it'll consume the junk for the energy, which is exactly what you want it to do. You have to give your body a break in between when you eat. Eventually, I got up to just a 4 hour eating window, which is where I was not only eating between the hours of 4 and 8 p.m., and I was usually only eating one really big meal. But what I realized with that part, I was like, one, I personally don't need 3 meals a day. There's no reason I
Right.
need to be eating that often because, like, not that I had planned to go this, but when you think about it, if I'm eating 1 meal a day and I'm going to the bathroom one time a day, that's about right. But if I'm eating 3 meals a day and only releasing one bathroom break a day, that's still two other meals
Hmm.
that are
That are
still
sitting
in
there.
our gut. Yeah. So, like, I think, or in our intestines. But that's really what intermittent fasting is doing is giving your body a chance of break so that it can heal itself.
Gotcha.
And there's like again, you can do a 12-hour eating window, you could do 8. It just depends. You have to again listen to your body,
Right.
see what feels right and during the hours when you're not eating, you could still drink water or I would drink herbal tea but make sure there's no sweetener or anything in it because you don't want anything with calories, right? Because otherwise, the minute you have something with calories, you have now broken your fast. So
Oh,
you just want to think about like, so I won't have anything with calories up until 12. And from 12 to 6, I can eat what I want or however many meals I want. But then after 6 o'clock, I will not eat another thing with any type of calorie until the following day at whatever time, depending on your
gotcha.
eating window.
Yep.
Remember we were sold that idea that like
Yeah.
breakfast is like the most important meal, and then you realize it was actually marketing. It wasn't scientific that breakfast was the most
Right.
important meal of the day. And I realize now I do better without breakfast, or
Yeah.
not when I first, at least not when I first wake. So I
Me
mean,
too. I don't
so,
eat breakfast a lot either. But like you said, growing up, we could not skip breakfast. And then for a lot of us, it was just cereal, right? Which was
right,
high in sugar. Like we wanted the name brands with all of
right,
the sugar.
right.
Thank you, mom.
Pop tarts and things. Those are the things we were eating in the morning. Straight
Yeah.
sugar, which of course we were going to have like an afternoon lull when we're supposed to be like studying or taking a
Yeah.
quiz or a test or something. So just think about the food I think that you eat. The other thing, obviously, we've talking about like how alcohol was necessary for us. Taking things away actually helped us grow. And like, what did you see? What were the differences that you saw when you gave up alcohol or when you changed the way that you ate?
I would say the one that I want to share with our audience is my interaction with people, things around me. Like, I feel like I became this. studious, like, like a little bit uppity. You know what I mean? Like, I felt good. I felt that good about my decision that I was like, I don't drink that. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
for me, I was okay with that. I don't care how anybody took it. So I just felt more alive. I felt like I was doing the thing for my body that it asked me to do.
You know what I love about this, you saying that, because what it told me was that was you had improved your self-concept and your self-worth, right? And
Ooh.
that is so important to self-love. And like, in order for us, if we're like trying to quantum leap and create a new mindset and change our world and live our dream life, you have to improve your self-concept. And for you, somehow that meant taking alcohol out of your life made you feel a little bit more uppity, had a little bit more pep in your step, a little bit more
Yeah.
like, and that's fine because
Right.
that's a new mindset for you, right? So that means that you then have now jumped almost into a different reality, a different version of yourself,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
version of you that couldn't have imagined giving up alcohol. 2 years ago, you
Correct.
wouldn't imagine that you would have given up alcohol.
At all. Correct.
Not
Not at all.
not for self-healing, especially not to feel better about like give up alcohol and I'll feel
Right.
better, you know? So,
Gonna miss out on
um
all the fun. But
yeah, but,
no.
like, that's, like, a huge point, I
Yeah.
think, when we think about, like, when we're all, like, trying to manifest or trying to live our dream life is, what do we believe about ourselves? Because that'll tell you what you can call in for yourself, right?
Mhm.
So if you believe, like, if you don't believe that good things happen to you or that you deserve these things, there's no way it can come to you. So your
Right.
self concept and your self worth, which is why going back to consumption and fasting from anything, like I talked about, my fasting was, yes, there was alcohol, yes, there was food, but there was also like social media. There was also like the music that I listened to
TV.
and the TV that I watched, the things I consumed. I stopped watching like SVU and all those things and the ID channel, which I absolutely used to love. And now I think like, why were you going to sleep with that on your brain? Like that was where I cleaned up my entire environment and really fasted from all the things that for me that felt like distractions, but I gained so much in doing that. The
Right.
more I let go and really like catered my universe with what I wanted it to be. And so the content that I took was I was very intentional about, my life also changed and my life started to reflect what I was pulling in, you know? So
Yeah.
like getting rid of things or taking things out of your life really does add to it.
Yeah. And when you're watching those programs, like SVU and Criminal Minds and all of that, you're staying down there on that frequency where you are normalizing, you know, homicide and kidnappings
Making
and
it
sexual
entertaining.
assaults. Yeah, like,
It's we're using it as entertainment. Like, is that weird that we're entertained by murder
right.
and
It is weird.
trauma and violence? Like, and it has become so normalized that we are entertained by
I
um
know. It's sad. But, I'm not going to speak, harshly on it because we were those girls.
we were. No, 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 no.
Every Friday night, 9 o'clock, Dateline. Me and Dateline had a date. Okay. So
Right,
I
and
get
by no
it.
means, yes. By no
Right.
means passing
I,
judgment. It was just
yeah.
we got into a place where we were like, "Ooh, let's take inventory and let's cut some of these things out and just see
Yes.
what happens. Just see. It's like an experiment."
And then once I did, I feel like I moved differently throughout the streets, right?
Mhm.
I'm not like looking around, I don't even, I'm not fearful of anything. And that's the other thing because those shows like keep you in a fear box, right? Like you're always like thinking somebody's out to get me. I move differently because I have eliminated those types of, programming from my mind, from my body. It's a no for me. Sorry.
Well, my favorite thing is, like, I am the master of my universe. I
Mhm.
am the creator of my universe, just
Yes.
mine, not yours and not anyone else's, but mine. I have full power to control
Yeah.
my environment. So why would I want to bring something traumatic that I never ever want to personally experience?
Correct.
Why would I invite that into my universe? And it's so interesting because you and I are both very much like we don't really watch the news, And I was talking to someone earlier today, and they were like, yeah, you got to be careful because just pay attention. And then they told me, like, yeah, because, people are dying from this. And I had not heard that at all. And I had no idea that there were all these, like, don't eat this, don't do that. And I was like, because I had been very intentional about crafting my universe. So what I allow in is what I allow in. So it was interesting to me. And I was like, ooh, I have shielded myself from such fear mongering and like scary content that it is not even in my consciousness. I'm not even aware that I need to be scared of something. And so if I'm not aware that I need to be scared of it, can it exist in my life?
Right.
If I'm not
And
aware of it, can it?
it can't.
Right.
No, it cannot.
So that's why it's so
But
important, y'all.
here's the other flip side about that, consumption and who you talk with, right? Like, so your friend came to you with this, have you heard about this? Now, typically, because I don't watch the news, this, I don't watch a lot of, TV. So you bring me my news for
Mhm.
the most part. And you may hear things like that from other people, but then when you bring it to me, or you don't even you filter out certain things for your friends. And that's what I love about having somebody who's going on this journey with me, because they're gonna be like, okay, she's not ready for that. But then you also have to question that person who brought all that news to you. Is that the type of consumption that you want? And if it's not, then you got to start asking some questions about that person who's still maybe on that frequency. You
It was tough because I was also trying to have a conversation with them and say, like, you know, you have to be aware of the collective consciousness and think about everything that has been happening in the environment, what we've seen, what's going on in politics and all this. Everyone is anxious. Everyone is
Yeah.
in fear. Everyone is worried about what's about to happen. And that is a collective vibration of energy that everyone is sitting on. Everyone is upset about something right now.
Hmm.
I'm not upset about anything right now. I am focused on me and my universe. And there's nothing that I need to be upset about right now because my needs are met. The things I want, I have. I'm healthy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm alive. And I have this consciousness and I have this mindset right now, which I didn't have a few years ago when I was doing all of these other things.
Right.
I didn't have that clarity. And that's what fasting and giving things up always gave me clarity in one way or another.
Correct.
And my dad is Muslim, so like I saw him fasting growing up all the time. And I remember I tried to do it one time and I was like, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. And so I didn't take it very seriously again until a few years ago when I started to fast. And when my dad and people would say, like, oh, you get clarity and all this stuff. And I was like, well, what do they mean? And then I did it and I understood. Like, it was almost like I had taken things out of my life and I could hear my intuition more clearly. I
Yeah.
could hear and things that, like, or like issues that I've had or things I have been dealing with, all of a sudden I now had like a blueprint or an idea of how to like move past those things that were keeping me stuck. It was just like I removed like junk from my brain and my brain was able to focus. And it's like
Mhm.
when you think about spirituality and tapping into high vibrational, a good example is always like a radio show. Um, you have to tune in to that radio show. You can't hear it unless you tune into it. So when I fasted, I was able to tune into higher vibrational energy. I was able to tune into those intuitive thoughts or those thoughts to say, hey, maybe you should go here, you should do that. Because one, I had devoted and did something for myself, right? It's like when you make a goal for yourself and then you achieve it and you feel good. But there was something about fasting, about keeping something from myself that allowed me to gain what I would call God consciousness and
Mm,
like the ability to hear it and to understand it and to feel it and to really grow and evolve as a human.
yeah. I love that for you.
I love it for us. I love it for anybody that's listening because it also means that you have an opportunity. You don't have to do anything crazy. Like, you don't have to be like, I'm going to do a 4-hour eating window like Zakkiya. You can start by doing a 12-hour eating window. You just don't eat anymore after 8, and then you eat again at 8 o'clock the next
Yeah.
morning. Whatever, start slow. Start, listen to your body. And, obviously, if it's medical, you should talk to a doctor about it and all those things. But like, you can give up some nighttime TV for something else.
Willpower.
Right.
willpower, determination, focus. Like you mentioned focus. Y'all, they're going to throw everything at us to keep us unfocused, take us off our track, right? But it is up to us to stay on our path and not give in to any of it. There's a lot of things happening out here right now. Um, and then you feel bad. I feel bad sometimes that I don't listen as much to the news because I'm like, okay, I don't know what to talk about to my people, but
I don't
no,
want to be talking about that.
I actually right. I'm like, no, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. But there's a lot. There's a lot out here. Propaganda. Watch for the way that they try to use so many other distractions against us. And just
Girl,
level
I
up.
I'm not gonna say names, but there was a collab that was released this week with a fast food restaurant and a alcoholic beverage. And I was so annoyed by the whole thing. And I was like, this is so like, but I'm not gonna go any further
Wait,
into it, but it was
so
just was
fast
like
food is about to start selling alcohol?
there was like a collab. I don't know. I kept hitting not interested, not interested, not interested because I was just like, ooh, people, we got to be careful with what we're consuming, and we really have to think about because a lot of it is distractions. And alcohol. The one thing for me that really made me like, um, when I was in, one crazy story. When I was in college, I was going to church, and the pastor one day she like during worship came over and said something to me. And so she was just like, and she was like, you're like this part of the Bible. And she gave me a Bible verse to go in and like listen to it. And I listened to it. And I remember being so moved by it that she would say
Mhm.
this to me. But right before the verse that she told me about, there was a mention where it said like wine and spirits or alcohol are for the poor and destitute. Give the poor something so that they can be distracted from their own troubles. And when I read that, I was like, and it was basically saying, like, kings of kings do not drink for this reason. Because you got stuff to do, you have tend to. Alcohol is meant for people that need to be distracted because their life is bleak, because they are down and out and poor
Wow.
and destitute. And that really, like, that always kind of stuck with me afterwards. And then when you think about spirit and like the root word or the alcohol means like spirit and the root word of it, and that like,
Yeah.
you know, can have negative connotation. I know we're just talking about alcohol, but there are so many other things, again, that I say that you can fast from that can
Oh
help you
yeah.
have these like clarifying moments.
Yeah. I agree. Um, okay. So I guess lastly, what would you say to them to help consumption, help them drive consumption home?
I think if you're going through if you're here and you're listening to us, at some level you are going through a spiritual awakening because you wouldn't have been attracted and drawn into this podcast otherwise. And so I will say for you to take an inventory of your life and look at the things maybe that you don't 100% feel good about. You do it anyway, but in the back of your mind you're like, I really shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't
Yeah.
be eating this, or I shouldn't be watching this, or whatever it is, or I shouldn't be enjoying this conversation or this drama or whatever. Find out what that is and start by withdrawing some of that. I think food is
Mm,
the easy one for most people in general, just because you're like, oh, I can kind of control my eating windows and like try intermittent fasting. But anywhere in your life, it doesn't have to be food, doesn't have to be alcohol. Anywhere that you carry a little bit of like guilt anytime
yeah.
you do it or engage with it, start there and see what will happen when you try to like take some things out. Which reminds me of this week's quote:
Oh,
consume with intention, not just desire. Every purchase is a vote for the world you want to live in. And I remember when we both read this, we kind of had two different thoughts about it, right? And like, tell me what you thought when you read this quote.
well, when I read it, it was the last sentence. Every purchase is a vote for the world that you want to live in. But I absolutely thought about, like literally purchasing, like my buying power, right? The way I spend my money. where I want to spend my money. And if I choose to spend my money on this, then I am supporting, this company or this person's ideas and why they are selling this product. So I thought about it in that sense. And then you were like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. It's this way.
Well, now, and to be fair, that is not fair for me to tell you to not take your quote how you took it, because you could totally take it the way you want to, babe. But for me, when I read it, I thought of it really differently. One, I thought it was very interesting that I like to point out that, like, when I was going, I saw this quote. I was like, oh, this is great for the episode this week. But when I was trying to find who wrote the quote, I realized AI had actually written a quote, which I thought was like very interesting. And like, that's a
Mm,
subject that we can delve into a future episode. But when I read it, consume with intention. Obviously, be very intentional about the things that you are putting in your body and the things in and around your environment, right? That makes sense. But when I read the part of every purchase is a vote for the world you want to live in, I wasn't thinking, actual, like, tangible, like what you were actually purchasing with
purchases.
your money, right? I was thinking, like, again, because you are the master and creator of your universe, whatever you consume, whatever it is, and that is your vote for the world that you want to create. So if you decide to consume murder mystery all night before bed, like, you are deciding that's a part of your universe and that's a part of your world that you are creating. If
Yeah.
you decide that you were going to drink every night, or that you were going to, eat them bag of chips every night sitting on the couch, or that, you're going to continue to do things that you find that you have guilt about later and afterwards, it's creating your environment. It's
Mhm.
attracting more of the same to you. So you hate that you do it, but you do it again because you're attracted to it, essentially. So
Yeah.
again, I don't think yours was wrong. I think, and our listeners may also read the quote and think something else, which we would really invite you. Please leave comments. We would love, please subscribe to our channel. If nothing else, subscribe, give us a
Yeah.
like, and leave a comment if anything in this episode resonated with you. If you take the quote and you think something totally different, or if there's something you really want us to talk about, please let us know. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. You can leave comments. We're on TikTok. I will link all of that information in the show notes of this video. So again, thank you. Any lasting words, Keela?
No, that was it. Consume with intention.
Consume with intention. We love y'all. We'll see you next week. Peace. Until next time, get in here, get in here, get in here.